Every person living and working in the Earls Court area will very soon be under the shadow of the massive demolition that will begin here in November 2014. This is when Transport for London, Sir Terry Farrell and Capco's Masterplan is due to be put into effect.
This master plan will not generate one single additional affordable housing unit.
They're going to be incredibly expensive flats. They're going to be what's called buy to leave. It's not going to be for locals living here.
They don't want me and people like me in this area.
Boris Johnson is abandoning people.
Just so that someone else can have a different and allegedly better lifestyle.
It's the tenants they didn't like and they wanted us gone.
It does seem to most people that Capco never had any intention of retaining the exhibition centre.
I was told that it's going to be 25 years from the time it's knocked down for the first brick to be laid to the last brick to be laid.
The proposed development includes nothing that will add to the area. I've lived in this area now for over 45 years, but the exhibition centre is somewhere that I've known from my childhood when I lived in the country, and we would come up to London to go to events there. So I've probably been visiting it now for over 50 years. I've been to concerts, I've been to all kinds of exhibitions, from different trade fairs, food fairs, book fairs, the Ideal Home Show, the Motor Show, the Boat Show.
People come from all over the world to Earls Court to see their favourite rock band. The hotels that they've now sold off in this street rely on this. We rely on things like the exhibitions that go on there, the home shows, everything.
Currently, it's going to be holding an exhibition called 100% Design, which is interior, furniture, furnishings from all over the world, from Japan, from China now, from Scandinavia. These people come to London, especially with their wares, and they need a venue like Earls Court, and they come to Earls Court because it is world famous.
They sell this off, Earls Court is going to lose substantial money. Also, the traders in the Earls Court Road are also going to be losing out. The hoteliers, not just, everyone's going to lose out.
It still is a busy exhibition centre, which the local area really relies upon. At the moment, we're 100% full, and it's all connected with the exhibition centre. If that goes, where does our business come from? If
it does go, certainly my business will be hit about 25%, and talking to some of the hoteliers, they say even more, because it's not just customers that come and go to the show, it's people that set up their stalls and do all the stage work, and there's a hell of a lot that goes into it that I think would really badly affect Earls Court if that happens.
Capco have deliberately run down the exhibition centre. They bought 50%, they then set up an offshore company, which I think is to avoid tax. Before they even owned the other 50%, they were planning to demolish the exhibition centre.
We have been here for 4 years now and have noticed, certainly over the last 2 years, a decline in business regarding the concerts that have been cancelled, the concert that's gone over to the O2, for example.
I think the whole thing of Earls Court being destroyed is absolutely disgusting. How can a private company just decide they want to take not only the land they're sitting on, but 2 housing estates, other businesses in the area being forcibly closed down, taken over, rents tripled to force them to move out?
We're down to probably 2 functions a month, where it used to be 3 functions a week there.
The exhibitions industry should be a growing industry. It is all around the world, but why we in England suddenly want to get rid of this one? Well, that's all down to property where the land is seen as of value and not what's on the land, not what it brings. but what it can bring to a small few people who will develop it into blocks of flats that are going to be sold all around the world, but hardly lived in. They'll be used most as bank deposits.
We don't need more luxury flats in the area. If you just walk up Warwick Road, in between what used to be Homebase and Tesco's, there's flats there. Walk past there at night time and see how many lights are on. They aren't. People just buy them and they're sitting there empty.
And I really don't think people or the councillors understand what way Earls Court's going to develop once this development is complete.
The proposed development includes nothing that will add to the area. It just adds more shops, more offices, more houses. Well, we can all go shopping anywhere in London. We find the same stores wherever we go, and that'll happen in Earls Court. There is nothing in Earls Court at the moment for anyone to come here for except what happens in the exhibition centre.
Earls Court is Earls Court because of the exhibition centre, and that is going to be knocked down.
If I was a potential investor, I'd be very worried because the latest newspaper reports are Capco doesn't actually have the finance to complete the project, which is worrying again that they plan to demolish on the 23rd of December. Do they have the money to complete it? Is that not a worry for investors? And also, if it is true that, there's talks of a takeover bid because they haven't got the money, are we going to end up with another Battersea power station with just wasteland sitting there for years, having destroyed a lot of the local economy for nothing?
Architecturally, it wouldn't cost much to restore it back to its original and then adapt it further. When you think of how much money was spent building the Tate Modern from the abandoned building it was, well, here we have a building that's already functioning. It would need some money spent on it for sure, but you could easily change the forecourt and adapt it. It was a much more welcoming open space originally. It didn't have this whole gated security around it now, but it would be very easy, for instance, to put a fabulous rooftop cafe on top of it that had open terraces. Cost very little money. So to make it even bigger attraction for when there wasn't events on there, wasn't exhibitions on there, open up the swimming pool again, would cost very little compared to, say, the Tate is now doing a new extension that's costing hundreds of millions. The Tate has become the biggest attraction in England because people invested in it. If they'd invested in Earls Court, they already had a major attraction bringing millions of people. Just think what could be done with it.
This is Earls Court Square. I did live here in Earls Court Square for 11 years. I now live on the other side. The building here behind me is a social housing building. Already, greedy property developers are trying to buy up the building. Buying up this building would mean that residents in here with children who attend this school opposite us would then have to leave the area altogether because there is not enough stock to rehouse them by Kensington and Chelsea.
The whole estate across the road, which all council and some people have bought their flats over there. I think about 100 are owned within the estate, and so it's a real mixed development there currently, which is good news. All those people are going to be relocated anywhere over London. They could end up in Heathrow or wherever.
To maintain my home for my children is the biggest duty for me. I have 3 that need me, and I need to make sure that they have a home to come home to, somewhere where they can be safe.
People are just being left to their own devices. I have a disability. I rely on social housing. I need social housing, but I still have a job. I'm still an income earner. I just can't get a mortgage anymore. However, Kensington and Chelsea want to take that away from me. They want to sell these places. They want to leave people to go anywhere it pleases them.
We have pensioners on the estate who are members of our company who are sort of wretchedly upset on the thought of having to go, and we are trying to protect their livelihood, the lives of all the people here.
These older people are afraid to buy new things for their home, imagining that the move might be imminent, and maybe they can't afford or they don't want to spend money on things that may not have a long usage of life.
They're only going to look after secure tenants for one thing, and if we go to Lillie Square, the rents will be higher, and there'll be service charges.
These are people who are refugees in the Second World War, and they know how to budget, they know how to look after their money. They don't want to spend needlessly.
There is no affordable housing. Nobody is being catered for by Kensington and Chelsea. Boris Johnson is abandoning this. Now he wants to demolish the Earls Court Exhibition Centre. Now what they're saying is that the Earls Court Exhibition Centre is going to be affordable housing. But it's not going to be affordable housing. It's only going to be affordable housing if you're a multi-millionaire.
They're going to be incredibly expensive flats. They're going to be what's called buy to leave. It's not going to be for locals living here. You know, quality properties, perhaps in keeping. We were told originally it was all going to be in keeping with the area, so we were expecting long gardens, similar 5-storey properties here, but they're using the Empress State Building, which is 30-odd stories high, as their benchmark, and so there's lots of 15, 16 tower blocks, and they're going to be supposedly very high quality flats, but that means the overseas buy-to-leave investor, not for locals. It's not housing for Londoners.
There are 558 flats up for sale in Earls Court. It is a small area, it's not a big area, and none of them are being sold. You look on the property websites and you'll see that most of them remain, like in this building, there's 6 that have been up for sale for 5 years. This building is let into small short-term sublets because nobody can really afford it. It's completely and utterly a waste. What's going to happen is the place is going to turn into a ghost town.
I'm particularly concerned about the revised new traffic plan associated with the redevelopment of Earls Court. The original plans had been assessed on specific roads. These traffic plans actually now incorporate roads which have previously never been evaluated for pollution, congestion, and generally the slowing down of the Earls Court one-way system. This has a far wider impact than just Earls Court. This will affect everyone that would use the Earls Court one-way system. This plan proposes 5 to 10 HGV lorries per hour along a system that is already at gridlock. It also doesn't consider, when it comes to the 2 entrances in Hammersmith and Fulham, additional development sites. Lillie Square, which is a Capco development, Farm Lane, a Capco development, and the Ibis Hotel. So I feel that this part of the plans are fundamentally flawed. In addition to that, there's the concerns of the treatment of asbestos. In the report, it is, they say the words. They say they've done a survey, but they don't show the findings, the results of these surveys. This building was originally promised to be enveloped, to contain dust. We're not suggesting that people are going to be negligent, but there's always the possibility of error. So we need to know what the statistics are on asbestos. We need to know, because the most of the roof of this is presumed to have asbestos. It is a major concern that this development, apart from the fact that it fails to deliver affordable housing, apart from the fact that there are genuine fears about the implementation of the Masterplan, has been nodded through, and one can only consider that the councillors that approved it are unaware of the consequences of their actions.
At the moment, the roads around here are way over the pollution levels set, and like Philbeach Gardens is incredibly dense. The number of people, I think someone said it's the densest road in Europe as far as population goes, so it's going to be unpleasant, the noise, to say the least. I think they said 65, 75 decibels is going to be level. Something like having a large road, the amount of volume you get when you're up close to a large road in rush hour. So that's going to be going on 8 till 5 for about 18 months.
In RBK's SPD supplementary planning document, it required a road which went from Cromwell Road to Lillie Road to be able to support traffic that was generated by this site. There are at present 4,300 car parking spaces on this site, which are going to be fed onto one of the most congested road systems in London. This is an £8 billion project. It is going to take 20 years. At what point are we actually going to be able to live in our own cities?
I actually moved to West London when I was 6 years old. I'm 58 years old now. My father was the first black person to buy a home on Sinclair Road. He owned number 11 Sinclair Road. I remember being spat on as a child because certain people were afraid that the property values in Sinclair Road would fall because a black man had bought a house.
I live in West Kensington Estate. I've been here 14 years with my children. 3 of them have grown up here. I have 2 living with me right now, and let's look at it through their eyes. They've grown up here knowing this area, knowing the schools, knowing the local places where they're nice to be, where they can shop, where they can meet friends. And without their home being maintained the way it is, it's going to be a little bit hard for them to start afresh.
I just remember stepping in here with my daughter, who was 2 at the time, and just feeling safe and secure, and having been through as a child, my father going bankrupt, losing our home, having to move into a council property. For me, what was very important was stability of a community, and I've lived here therefore ever since 1983.
With the threat of demolition, I think parents see it as more imminent than children. They think, well, it's okay, we'll find a home, Mum will sort it out. But these things are not that easy.
I first heard about the development when I heard that Stephen Greenhalgh, the local councillor, had said something about the community on West Kensington was that it was kind of a ghetto or something like that, and that made me see red and sent me up like a rocket.
We've put a lot into the country. We've looked after our children, we've grown them up to be respectable people. They've moved outside London now because they can't afford to stay in West Kensington area, Fulham area.
A community is what we all make of it, and West Kensington has all sorts. We have me as a professional, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we've got a property developer, we've got senior nurses, we've got all kinds of people. We've got drug addicts and people who drink and whatever, but we're a community.
We have a neighbour who's celebrating her 94th birthday this year, and we've got younger people here too. My immediate neighbour has big family, her youngest son is 3, and he knows the home, he's very happy here too. The children attend the local schools and they become buddies with each other, so they enjoy their environment, they feel safe when they're coming home from school. The mums and dads don't always have to do the school run. There's lots of big children who can bring them home, and it's safe around here, despite what people say about estates.
People label estates, but there's no difference between this estate and a gated community. It's just that a gated community is called a gated community. It's not an estate. But when people tag that label estate onto something, council estate, and the media is terribly responsible for that.
There's a good community around here. I don't know everybody behind every door, but you can go and knock on the door and have a pleasant word with someone. You can go and have a cup of tea with someone.
Children should grow up to realise that life isn't just about money. It's about values, and I'm a very values-based person, and that's what keeps me here. So I was just absolutely horrified when Greenhalgh said that this wasn't a decent community, that this wasn't a decent neighbourhood, and I just thought, how dare he?
As you grow into your home, you grow into the community, and it's a nice thing. For somebody to come along and take that away from you, for the greed of money, and then for these properties have become empty due to just it being a place to park money, to have an investment in West London, and then for these properties then to be empty, it seems a crime when there are people who need homes and there are people who are enjoying homes. For the very reason that those houses were put here is to help people through the times when they can't afford to buy their own home.
I've felt this push over 20 years here, where the streets around Fulham, the little houses which were the property of kind of what you would call white working class, have been sold to the kind of, I guess it's an old-fashioned term to say now, the yuppies. But the yuppies moved in, have gentrified the area, and they're now quaint little cottages which go for £500,000, £800,000. And growing up in West Kensington, you've got a lot of young people who see wealth and they have nothing. And that divide, that doesn't create communities. So this community that they've designed for us is to bring another massive community of overseas potential buyers with their mega millions to house them in our community and tell us to get lost.
650 members, we believe that most of them do not want to go. We've had a lot of conflict with the council because with 650 members they weren't taking us seriously, they weren't giving us any news, they weren't telling us what's happening with tenants' contracts, new rents if we should have to go, and service charges, because it was obviously very embarrassing.
Yeah, we found out about the plans for the exhibition centre in dribs and drabs, really. There was no initial sort of upfront honesty about what was going to happen. It came through piecemeal. Then, of course, you find the website for the Earls Court Masterplan. Masterplan is a word I find a bit distasteful anyway. It just doesn't sound right.
This whole scheme is crooked, perverse, from start to finish, all for the sake of putting up posh flats in the place of people who lived here, some of them for quite a long time.
And it's a development that will see 8,000 flats, most of which will be luxury, sold off plan to overseas millionaires who want to move their money from tax avoidance in their own country.
And they intend to sell 2-bedroom flats in this area from £800,000 up. Now, what they're basically saying is they don't want me and people like me in this area because we can't afford to pay a mortgage on an £800,000 flat.
You have the local Conservative councillors telling us that Earls Court should go. It's attracting the wrong type of exhibition, the wrong type of customer, and that we should be pleased because we're getting a brand new hospital. They fail to say the brand new hospital is actually a private hospital and nothing to do with the development at all.
I remember I was part of the Save West Ken committee, and I went to the council chamber and I spoke out. I did a speech on behalf of all the tenants and residents here, and I remember there was a councillor who asked me how dare I be so outspoken about it. The reason I dare is because they dare to actually put down the community.
Why is it that Kensington and Chelsea passed through the Demolition and Waste Management Plan, which was one of the last reserved matters where they could have had an effective pause to this development, to the demolition of the exhibition centre? So it's almost as if the preferential nature that developers get are actually to the disadvantage, positive disadvantage of residents. They're not considered.
I mean, the newspapers are going after people for avoiding tax, yet nobody's saying anything about TfL setting up an offshore company with Capco to avoid tax on the development.
TfL has a very poor record when actually working with public enterprises. They have a very poor deal. They are the owner of 55 acres of this 77-acre site, and yet they have a 37% deal with the company that's been set up. This company is registered in Jersey. They're not going to be paying tax.
And then you find out the guy who told English Heritage not to list Earls Court is a specialist in working in areas where he's telling people to demolish listed buildings, and he's also runs a company which has Capco as a client. There's a complete conflict of interest and nobody's mentioned it.
Why is TfL in this very poor money-grabbing deal? Is TfL a property developer, or is it actually the core business delivering safe transport systems for London?
I live in a land where the rich get richer. I live in a land where the poor get poor. I live in a land where the weak get weaker. I live in a land where the more want more. Wink, wink, nod, nod, smile, smile, shake, shake. 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 I live in a country where the right gets righter. I live in a country where the left gets left. I live in a country where